Welcome to the Pistons Fanatic. I'm your host, Dave Dalton, and I'm really excited to share my passion and perspective of our Detroit Pistons as we go on this fantastic voyage together. I've been a diehard Piston fan since the days of Dave Bing and Bob Lanier. I've also been the varsity basketball coach of a very successful program in northern Michigan. Thank you so much for listening. Please subscribe. I want to get up to 2,000 subscribers, so I'm getting really close. So please subscribe. Just click on that button. Great news. Christmas came 6 months early for the Piston Fanatic. The Pistons have fired Monty Williams, according to ESPN and Woj, and he said the decision was made by ownership level. So the Tom Gores said that he was going to let the new president, which is Trajan Langdon, that he just hired, make the decision. But the source from ESPN says um, that Tom Gores made the final decision. And I thought when he hired Trajan that was his way out of not having to be the bad guy and um, do the firing. But I am so thrilled that he did. And I know some of my listeners think that he deserved another chance, another year. And I laid out in my last podcast the 11 reasons why he shouldn't be the coach of the Pistons, where he failed. And it was, again, it's not just one thing, it was so many things. And if you were to believe that he could be a good coach, it's, I think, obvious that he's not going to be a great coach. We want a great coach. And you look at the Houston Rockets. They hired Emily Adoka, and they had this turnaround. And sure, they got some really quality free agents. They had some really good young players. But he was a big part of the reason. He was a great coach. And just like Mark Daigneault, this young guy that was in the film room and worked his way up, and he still just looks like a high school kid still, but he was coach of the year. And we just need to get, we got to trust Trajan to hire the right guy. We're going to go through a bunch of the candidates. Monty had 5 years and 65 million, but shout out to Tom Gores for making that decision. But it just, another thing, it was just evident that Monty didn't really believe in the young players. And I just don't know what the future, if we were to keep Jaden Ivey, for example, I don't know how he could have ever prospered under Monty. Just like DeAndre Ayton was never going to prosper under Monty. There was something about Ivy that bugged him, and maybe Ivy will get traded. But still, if he's going to be here, I just can't see, if I were in Jaden Ivy's sneakers, that I could feel good and confident coming to work every day. So we will see what happens. And we got, I think Trajan's a great hire. I can go on record saying that. You can come back at me if he's not in 2 or 3 years. I think that Fred Vinson, the shooting coach that we got, and shout out to James Edwards and Amarius Sokova and those guys, the beat writers. So, Mark Stein, I did that report, and people, even on the front office show, they said that Monty Williams is going to stay. And they just got that report from Mark Stein saying that they had a source. But when Amari and James Edwards III, who are, Amari's for the Free Press and James Edwards III is for The Athletic, they weren't tweeting anything. They never said anything. And even after the Vincent hire, the shooting coach, James Edwards came on and said that doesn't necessarily mean that Monty's staying. So anyway, it's good. It'll be interesting to see if we actually hire a new coach before the draft. It seems unlikely. The Pistons move at snail's pace. And so it's just like, that's a thing that's been consistent with Tom Gores. Why did it take so long to fire Monty? We could have been in this process way ahead of time. I just don't know. It was, pretty black and white. Again, you can go back to my podcast. Also, you go to the 3 Championship Drive podcast with Lance Caparosi. I did a podcast spelling out the reasons why Monty shouldn't be returned, and that just was released just yesterday, I think. So, going to go run through some names that some I haven't heard before. Sean Sweeney, the lead assistant for the Mavs. He was in Milwaukee and really helped develop Giannis. Johnny Bryant. So Johnny Bryant, I was intrigued by Johnny Bryant before we hired Monty, and he never even got into the interviewing process. So it's interesting that he is brought up as a possible candidate for this job by James Edwards. So he's the lead assistant for the Knicks, and the Knicks, they got it going, culture wise, and he's worked under Tibbs, and Tibbs can rub some people wrong. But if he learned from Tibbs, I mean, I will always say one of the greatest displays of defense I've ever seen in my life is when the '04, that championship Pistons team, I don't know, remember what year it was, but they played the Celtics with Ray Allen and Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce and those guys. It was suffocating, the defense they played. And at that time, Tom Thibodeau was the defensive coordinator for the um, for the Celtics. So shout out to the Celtics, world champs. Not a big deal either way for me. But uh, Micah Nori, who we saw on the sidelines with the Timberwolves, he was the guy, when Chris Fitch got his leg taken out and had surgery and whatever, and he had to sit in the second row. So Nori was the guy that was standing up on the sideline during the playoffs for the Timberwolves, and he worked for the Pistons. He was part of Dwayne Casey's staff for a while. So Jerome Allen, we know he was here, and we used to hear him talk. He was part of Dwayne Casey's staff, and he was a player development coach. But James Edwards left off his list Jaron Collins, which just intrigues me because Trajan worked for the Pels, and the Pelicans, that's where Jaron Collins is an assistant, and he's well respected, and he's credited for making their defense so good, which is a place, the Pistons need good defense. And so he seemed like he would be a good candidate, and maybe it's that, maybe Trajan doesn't think he's worthy, but because otherwise, if he was worthy, nobody would know it better than Trajan because he was around him every day for years and got to see how he worked with the players and how efficient he was coaching. So my favorite, maybe right at the moment, is Chris Quinn. They call him Mini Spo. He's been with Eric Spoelstra with the Miami Heat for a while. He's got to see Heat culture up close and personal. He's got to see how it gets developed and maintained. He can bring that to Detroit. He's got the same attention to detail, just like Spoelstra. And Spoelstra is regarded, in my opinion, consensus, I think, is he's the best coach in the league, even though they don't always win. And again, I'm not saying, so like with Monty, I'm not saying that you just don't fire a guy because good coaches can have 500 records if there's injuries and their players aren't quite good enough. There's guys that get coach of the year, and that doesn't mean that it's wrong. Mark Jackson was a good coach at Golden State. They fired Steve Kerr. They won a championship. It's happened a lot of times. There different coaches that got coach of the year. Dwayne Casey got coach of the year and got fired the same year. And so coaching is a tough thing, but I just think that we lost 68 games, we won 14, worst record, and again I think it is hard for players to come into the locker room after 68 times and you lose and buy into everything your coach. So a big part of coaching is have players buy in and believe in you. But it's even if Monty was a good coach, it would be hard, when you lose that much. And so I don't think that Monty inspired anybody. I think that, he never got him fired up to play, or, it just seemed like we would have done better than 14 wins if he could have been a little bit inspirational. He was so low key. And again, a lot of us think that he maybe wasn't caring. So, but he's going to get 5 years. He doesn't have to do anything. He can sit on a beach and take in $65 million. So, yeah, good for him. But also, James didn't mention J.J. Redick, who's, a lot of people speculate that he will get the Lakers job. And we should probably know that real soon, I think, one way or the other. But again, Will Weaver's one other guy that's been brought up that's assistant with the Nets, but he was G League Coach of the Year, so he works with young players. He's considered to be a great offensive mind, and we do need somebody, that has some imagination and to create a good offense around our team. And I really, if you I watched every minute of every game last year. We ran very few of any type of offense. It was just like kind of spread out and stand around and watch Cade drive and then play off that. And so I'm excited for that. So the draft is right now. I mean, it's a week away, and so we're excited to find out what's going to happen. And again, I've never been shy about making picks and telling you who I thought should be the Pistons should pick. I mean, I thought that for whatever reason, I didn't think we were going to get Wemby, but I thought we were going to get a top 3 pick, and I would have taken Brandon Miller over Scoot Henderson. And I got podcasts that prove it. And so far, Brandon Miller has really proved that he would have been the better choice for the Pistons, especially than Scoot Henderson. But he didn't get it. So, we ended up with the men. I wanted Cam Whitmore. Cam Whitmore is tearing it up. I wanted Taylor Hendricks. Taylor Hendricks hasn't proven anything yet, but I'm confident that he will. But anyway, having said that, throughout every year, the other year when Jaden Ivey was drafted, I wanted Shaden Sharp with the 5th pick, or my next choice would have been Benedict Mathurin, then Jaden Ivey, and then Keegan Murray. And I liked all 4 of those guys a lot. And I was hoping that we would be able to trade our Jeremy Grant for Portland's 7th pick, but we didn't ever get it. We got a way worse pick. So I thought we could get 2 of those guys, and that would have been huge. And we just have gotten ripped off that we haven't got the top 3 pick, twice in a row when we had the worst record. So free agency, for teams can start signing their own free agents right now, or restricted free agents I think they could sign. So the only one I've heard anything about was Pascal Siakam, that he's going to re-sign with the Pacers. So the Pacers, though, they're going to have to worry about money. Again, we could probably capitalize on that and maybe get Jalen Smith, because they're not going to be able to sign him. Jalen Smith, 6'10 or 6'11. He can shoot the 3 and 42%, and that might give us an opportunity. Some people think maybe we could get Jarris Walker, and I wasn't thrilled with him, but I would be happy if we traded for him for the Pistons, but he's not necessarily a shooter. Again, my guy is Najee Marshall, so that's the number 1 target I would go after. So my thing is, this year, I know Piston fans, I'm confident with the new coach, whoever it is, that we're going to do better, that we're going to win close to 30 games, which is a huge jump from 14, 30, that would be 16 game improvement. But teams have done it. Teams have improved 16. Some teams have improved like 19 or 20 games before. So it is possible. We get the right guy. We get a couple free agents. But the league is so loaded from top to bottom, and it is so hard to move up. But I wouldn't. My ideal scenario would be that we have, for example, like the 5th worst record and win 30 games or whatever, 30, 32 games or whatever. And then we still get in the lottery, and then we jump ahead and we get up into the top 4, even though we are top 3 or top 2. And next year's draft is going to be so good, and we'll see. But I know we want to win. If we win more than 30 games, I will be thrilled out of my mind. But if we win 30 games, I still think we would get, a top 5 pick, and maybe, like I said, we're due to move up. We're due for some luck. So anyway, I just wanted to jump on and get this out there. I am absolutely thrilled. You can go back and listen to my last podcast and hear my 11 reasons why Monty shouldn't have been hired. I'm looking for us to get, step up and get a coach like Mark Daignault or Ime Udoka that can be a difference maker. And I think Chris Quinn can do that. And so we'll see. It's going to be a lot of things happening: the draft, the new coaching hire, and free agency. So we got a lot to look forward to. We got only one way to go up, Piston fans, and I'm confident we're going to do it. You have a great day. Be the reason that someone feels listened to, and go Pistons.